在移民规划这件事上，我们很多小伙伴总是热衷于去另辟蹊径。目前觉得这个幼教、小教、中教还都挺卷的，我想看看能不能整个特殊教育。特殊教育在澳洲的教育系统当中是一个什么样地位的存在？今天我们来跟Duncan教授好好的请教一下。
Many parents and students are quite familiar with the early childhood, the primary and the secondary teaching as already. But now they still find a lot of competition over the migration. To find out is there any pathway with less competition, they even asked me about the special need education. I want to take this opportunity to introduce the special need education to Chinese parents because this is quite different between China and Australia. In China, the special need education is small cohort, or I would say intentionally isolated. But in Australia, I think there's kind of term called inclusive education.
Yes.
So how does the special education actually act in Australia?
首页找到我，了解更多澳洲、新西兰留学移民资讯。
While we don't have a degree that has a named specialization in special education, we're bound by accreditation to offer subjects that deal with this area. And so they exist in all of our teaching courses. And you're right to say that we put the emphasis on inclusive education. So in our undergraduate teaching degrees, we have a subject called Designing Learning for Diversity and Inclusion. It's about how a teacher in an Australian schooling context needs to be sensitive to a range of diversity in any classroom. You know, they might be Australian, they may have lived their whole life in Australia, they may be teaching in an Australian school, but it's quite likely they'll have some students in their class at some point in time who were not born in Australia. They might speak a different language at home. There might be cultural differences that exist for other reasons. And I think you're also kind of alluding to the fact that sometimes students have specific needs of one kind or another because of reasons linked to a disability or some other need that needs to be understood and needs to be catered for in the classroom environment. So
Special needs doesn't only mean disability or ADHD or
I think special needs is probably a term that does refer to the things you're talking about. But inclusive education and catering to difference also touches on other things like being able to be responsive to different preferences and different interests, which is not to say that special schools don't also exist. There is at least one in Canberra where I live and work. But yes, a principle of inclusivity is probably more common in Australia. Most schools that I've worked in or I've visited, they have a range of students with different needs and abilities. And it's common to find them integrated into quote unquote normal classrooms. And sometimes a teacher takes responsibility for them in addition to all of the other students. Sometimes there's a level of support provided by what we call an LSA, a learning support assistant. So sometimes if there are kind of behavioral needs or physical needs that a student has, a learning support assistant is there to provide some of that so that the teacher can effectively concern themselves with all the students in the classroom.
That's quite different with China. So if a student have a passion to become a special need teacher, what kind of program they can choose?
They can become a teacher of special education using one of our normal teaching qualifications. And I think you can develop a skill set and a specialization in this kind of education as you're progressing in your career. You don't necessarily need to have studied it beforehand.
So is there any teaching area specifically in secondary teaching as a special need?
That stricture applies at the registration level, not necessarily at the employment level. So it's quite common for a school principal who's hiring someone to become a maths teacher to allow someone to teach mathematics who has not necessarily met all of those NESA subject content knowledge requirements. It's a bit of a gray area.
澳新留学移民，记得找考拉联合哦。